but right now I think that's still a fairly good number. Now, down here in Naples and Fort Myers, 5 to 8 is not the right number. You guys, especially from Cape Coral, Punta Gorda southward, you're 10. And if you get south into the Everglades or close to it, you're 15. You need to get out of the way of this storm. Marco Island, I know there are people hanging out on that island. I don't get it. You need to be off there before it's too late. There's a long bridge, and at some point in time, that window is going to stop. You're not going to be able to get off the island at all. But, you know, the entire island is going to be covered up in water. There's just not going to be any roadway that's not wet with salt water. And then if you're in a high rise, and I know that's where people are staying, all your equipment downstairs is going to be wet. Everything electrical, everything HVAC, everything that you need to really be comfortable is going to be wrecked. And then you're still going to be on the island, and you may not be able to get off. So that's all West Coast, because that's where the next focus is. Right now, the East Coast is still getting pounded, and that's where all of our reporters are seeing the surge into Miami, into Fort Lauderdale, all the way up the coast, anywhere along the intercoastal waterway. That's what's getting water now. If it's 2 to 3 feet, I think everybody can handle it. When it gets, in some spots will get 6 feet, then all of a sudden there's water in everything. Anderson.
Yeah, Chad, we want to start checking in with those reporters on the east coast of Florida. Brian Todd is standing by in West Palm Beach. Brian, how are things there?
Anderson, we're getting pounded with some of the early stages of hurricane force winds here. We're now in the window in the next several hours where we're going to really get the most intense storm surge that this area is probably going to see. The storm surge is just allowing the water in the intercoastal waterway to pound up against that walkway there. And the mayor of West Palm Beach, I just talked to her on the phone, Jerry Moyo, she told me she's really concerned about flooding because the storm surge is going to come up a couple of feet at least. It's going to probably inundate this area with water. She's worried about this drive, Flagler Drive, getting flooded. There is some water over here, and the wind intensity has really picked up in the last like 15 minutes. These palm trees behind me are starting to get compromised. There's one over here that's leaning badly, and palm fronds and coconuts are becoming projectiles. They're starting to fly all over the place here. Just below it, you see these street signs wobbling, and even these sturdy stanchions behind me that have the street lights on them, they're starting to wobble a little bit. So that's a real concern. I also just spoke to a local fire chief who said that basically we're in the window now where people call 911. They're not going to be able to come out and get them. It's just too dangerous for the first responders. That chief also told me, he said there's a big concern about the construction cranes, like the one in Miami that snapped or at least cracked. There's one over here. The chief assured me that these are secured, that the tops of them are pulling with the wind. He said they're supposed to do that. They're supposed to go around like a weather vane. They are pulling with the wind. He said they're in good shape, and he wants to reassure people of that. And he wanted to clarify something on our air. I think one of the experts said that we had said that people hadn't evacuated these buildings next to the cranes. Well, some people did evacuate. They were under a voluntary evacuation notice. Some of them got out, some of them did not. But the people who did not, who live in these apartment buildings, have told us they are now concerned that these cranes may hit their apartment buildings. But one of the assistant fire chiefs just told me right now they're confident they're going to stay in place. Anderson.
Brian, I appreciate that. And you know, a place like Tampa, and really in a lot of cities in Florida, they've seen such a real estate boom over the last couple of years. There are cranes everywhere. I mean, even here in Tampa, right by the Hillsborough River, we have two cranes over here, and they weren't expecting as big a storm as is going to be hitting Tampa. I assume those have been secured as best they can. Obviously, something a lot of people who live around here, who have stayed around here, are going to continue to watch because there are a lot of people who have stayed in some of these buildings. There's some high-rise buildings here. They're off. You know, they're above 15 feet or so, above 20 feet. They feel pretty confident. We've talked to a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are walking around right now because as one of the outer bands of the storm has passed by, the rain has really stopped. It's pretty calm. People are trying to walk their dogs, stretch their legs because they've been hunkered down in their homes. But again, they know what is coming. So does Chris Cuomo, who is down in Naples. Chris, you know, Chad was on just a second ago talking about potential storm surge, and Naples really is facing that potential of 10 to 15 feet of storm surge.
And that freaky phenomenon of the water getting sucked out by that, you know, that counterclockwise force, where on the East Coast the east part of the storm, the water's getting dumped back in, and the energy's coming from the west side, the left side of the storm. We saw that here. The water level has gone out. And Anderson, while I have you, that Project Phoenix about what could happen in Tampa Bay, that is some really startling stuff about the vulnerabilities of where you are in the development at water level and how the infrastructure is so old. A lot of those principles apply here. Everything has changed here, my friend. The difference in those like 200 miles between the two of us right now, this is all headed your way, of course, but it's really different here now. We're in that snap, crackle, and pop phase, where the trees are starting to come down, the transformers are doing their thing, and you get in that eerie sequence of noises where you're trying to figure out what it is that's getting softened up so you can calculate where to be and what's going to happen. I've been watching a couple of trees just went down away from us, and you're facing this way, and then you get hit by a little bit of whatever's flying around on this side. So we're getting into that phase, but Naples hasn't seen anything yet in terms of what the major risks are for where we are, and even more significantly where you are.
Yeah, the Project Phoenix report, which Chris referenced, just for our viewers who aren't familiar with it, that was a report done kind of to predict the effects, I believe it was of a Cat 5 storm hitting Tampa. But again, even a Cat 3 storm is not something anybody who lives here in Tampa, who grew up here in Tampa, has ever seen before. 1921 was the last time a major storm like that hit directly in Tampa. As Chris, as you know, Hurricane Charlie back in 2004 was expected to come here. It turned at the last minute and really decimated Punta Gorda. There are a lot of concerns here, and the mayor has voiced them time and time again about the effects of flooding, about the effects of storm surge, even when there are heavy rains in Tampa, in St. Petersburg, in this area around Tampa Bay. They have problems with flooding, and over the years, the level of Tampa Bay has just naturally increased. So as those higher winds come in, there's more water in Tampa Bay now than in previous decades to come inland in part of that storm surge. So there's certainly a lot of concern, and it's justifiable concern. I mean, we don't want to make things sound worse than they're going to be. But this is not a storm that anybody here in Tampa, unless they have lived somewhere else or Cat 3 has hit, has seen, and nobody has seen what it might do to this city, to Clearwater, to Hillsborough. You got to keep in mind there are some 700 miles of coastline around Tampa Bay. It's an extraordinarily beautiful area, and a lot of homes are built up very, very close to the water, not very raised up, not very high elevation off the water. So there's a lot of concern about what's going to happen, even where the mayor has a house in Davis Islands, which is just south of here by the Hillsborough River, by Hillsborough Bay. He said his home might be destroyed. I mean, if there was a significant storm surge, his home might be swamped. We're going to take a short break, and our coverage continues.
Now you can win $1,000 a day for life from Publishers Clearinghouse.
Are you serious?
We are serious. About $1,000 a day, every day, for life. Go to PCH.com and enter. October 13th, you can win $1,000 a day for life.
Now you can have everything. And your family can too. One of America's safest crossovers, well equipped for under $24,000. Coming now and get $2,000 cash back or 0% APR for 72 months on the 2017 Outlander.
When you have type 2 diabetes, there's a moment of truth. And now with Victoza, a better moment of proof. Victoza lowers my A1C and blood sugar better than the leading branded pill, which didn't get me to my goal.
Lowers my A1C better than the leading branded injectable, the one I used to take. Victoza lowers blood sugar in 3 ways.
And while it isn't for weight loss, Victoza may help you lose some weight. Non-insulin Victoza comes in a pen and is taken once a day.
Victoza is not recommended as the first medication to treat diabetes and is not for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not take Victoza if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Victoza or any of its ingredients. Stop taking Victoza and call your doctor right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, or if you develop any allergic symptoms including itching, rash, or difficulty breathing. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis. So stop taking Victoza and call your doctor right away if you have severe pain in your stomach area. Tell your doctor your medical history. Taking Victoza with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. The most common side effects are headache, nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting. Side effects can lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
Now's the time for a better moment of proof. Ask your doctor about Victoza.
So, tell us your big idea for getting the whole country booking on choicehotels.com.
4 words. Bada book, bada boom. Let it sink in.
Shouldn't we say we have the lowest price?
Nope. Bada book, bada boom.
Have you ever stayed with Choice Hotels, like at a Comfort Inn?
Yep. Free waffles. Can't go wrong.
I like it.
Promote that guy.
Get the lowest price on our rooms, guaranteed. When you book direct at choicehotels.com. Book now.
Register today at Elite Singles, where you'll benefit from 100% verified profiles, an extensive personality test, and tailored matches in your area. EliteSingles.com. Never more ready to fall in love again.
When you schedule with Safe Flight Auto Glass, you get time for more life. This family wanted to keep the game going.
Hey, Mom, one more game?
With Safe Flight, you get a text when we're on our way. You can see exactly when we'll arrive.
Sure. Bring it. Get it.
I'm Michael with Safe Flight,
Thanks for coming. It's right over here.
giving you a few more minutes for what matters most.
Take care. Bye. Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
This new Beneful grain-free. It's so healthy. Got farm-raised chicken. That's some really good chicken. I don't think I've ever tasted chicken like this. What? Here come the accents. Blueberries and pumpkin. Wow, that was my favorite bite so far. I'm not even kidding. I mean, that was spinach. That's like 3 superfoods. It's pretty, well, super. Now I got kind of a pumpkin chicken thing going. Look, time to wrestle.
New Beneful grain-free. Out with the grain, in with the farm-raised chicken. Healthful, flavorful, Beneful.
All right, John Berman in Miami right now, standing in the middle of Hurricane Irma, which has been striking Florida now for what feels like days. It's really been since last night when we felt the force of this storm starting to come onshore. The eye wall passed over the Florida Keys at about 9 o'clock this morning, and it's just been pounding the entire southern part of the peninsula now for hours. And our Chad Myers says we can expect these tropical storm force winds here, really hurricane force winds here in Miami for several more hours. And the impact is being felt in very, very specific and dangerous ways now. Number one, there was a crane collapse in downtown Miami on Biscayne Boulevard, 300. A crane collapsed. The boom fell down there. There have been pictures of that. We do not know how safe that area is. Authorities have warned people not to go anywhere near it. And then there is the storm surge. Brickell Avenue. A lot of people know Brickell Avenue right now covered in water. They had predicted 3 to 6 feet of storm surge. Our Chad Myers says the number is at 5.5. That 5.5 has been enough to flood part of the downtown area right now. That part of the downtown area, we should note, was part of the mandatory evacuation zone. So this is exactly what they feared might happen, exactly what they predicted might happen. All right, right now what I want to do is I want to go down to the Florida Keys. Our Bill Weir has been in the Keys for days right now. Bill, we have not heard from you in a couple hours. I was concerned. I just asked our producer to check on you. Give me a sense of what's happening in Key Largo, Bill.
I appreciate the concern, Johnny, but yeah, we just came down to find a safer spot. We were getting a little worried about where we were. We were getting awful wet. We were decided to try to leave the high-speed car wash if we could. So we found a little better bunker in the center of this condominium community here on the, I guess, the west side of Key Largo. This is the top of the Keys, the upper Keys. What we're really worried about, and meanwhile, I mean, the winds here sustain 60, 70 miles an hour. We're seeing 80 and 90 mile an hour gusts, trees down everywhere. It's no wonder the power went out so quickly last night. But what we're really worried about are the lower Keys. People go down there because it is low key. We're having audio issues. Take it back to John.
All right, Bill Weir in Key Largo. I confess, Bill, I was having a hard time making out exactly what you're saying, but I take it as good news that you're saying anything at all right now. I'm pleased to hear your voice down in Key Largo where you've been riding out this storm. The eye wall did pass the Florida Keys, about 70 miles from where Bill is right now. Key Largo, one of the northernmost Keys. The eye wall passed much further south than that. Our thanks to Bill for being there for us. Now to Rosa Flores, who is in downtown Miami, seeing this storm surge firsthand. Rosa, what are you seeing?
You know, John, both the storm surge and ponding is what we're seeing here in Brickell, which is the financial district. Just to give you a lay of the land, right next to the Publix grocery store, for those people who are familiar, the street now completely ponded, and as you mentioned, we're seeing a double punch. First of all, the ocean coming onto land. I'm probably about 3 to 4 streets from the ocean. The ocean is to my left. We're seeing that come onto land, and then of course the ponding on these streets, because a lot of the debris that's been flying around is now blocking those drains. Now I'm going to pan the camera over here so you can see what it looks like closer to the ocean. This is in the direction of the ocean. We're seeing a lot of that water come in. Before we moved to this location, there was a building whose first floor was already taking in that water, the surge. That lower floor where usually, it's usually a dock where they park some vehicles, was taking on water. Why? Because the ocean comes onto land in these types of conditions. We're also seeing wind gusts. We're seeing wind tunnels because this is the downtown area, because there are high rises here. Now, we've also seen people who did not evacuate, even though people were told to evacuate in this area. Some of them walking around, others driving around. One of them speeding down the water that was right next to our live position. Not recommended according to first responders. Now, John, there is a drainage system that is designed to drain water out here at this hour, being tested both by surge and ponding water. John?
That's right, not to mention all the debris that is clogging those drains right now. Rosie, you gave great advice. Don't try to drive through the flooded streets. It is the worst thing you can do. You simply cannot tell how deep the water is. Again, if you haven't evacuated, if you've chosen to stay at home, stay inside, especially in the Miami area right now. Ride out this storm, and if you have evacuated, don't try to get home. Not yet. Still too dangerous. The first responders won't even go out right now because the winds are too strong at this point. Hurricane Irma battering southern Florida right now. Miami getting the worst of it as we stand here, but the storm moving up the west coast very soon. Naples next in the target. Stay with CNN special live coverage of Hurricane Irma. We'll be right back.
We always were told we were German. We were in a German dance group. I wore lederhosen, so I just started poking around on Ancestry. Then I decided to have my DNA tested through Ancestry DNA. It turns out I'm Scottish. So I traded in my lederhosen for a kilt.
Fries for 316, please. Thank you.
David, what's going on? Oh, hey. That's it? Yeah. Everybody, 2 seconds.
Dear Sebastian, after careful consideration of your application, it is with great pleasure that we offer our congratulations on your acceptance.
Through the Tuition Assistance Program, every day, McDonald's helps more people go to college. It's part of our commitment to being America's best first job.
At Custom Ink, you can create custom t-shirts and other great products for all of life's events. Get free shipping and on-time delivery, guaranteed. Start today at CustomInk.com.
Men, after 40, you have a choice. Live with less drive and more fat, or get Ageless Male, the #1 best-selling testosterone booster, with over 4 million bottles sold. Ageless Male, more confidence, more libido, more testosterone.
My name is Brian. I'm proud to make dog chow in Davenport, Iowa. Dog chow has been a part of my family's life for over 40 years. My grandfather made it, and now I'm making it. As a microbiologist, I ensure that dog chow leads with high-quality ingredients.
When only the best will do, one-of-a-kind Tempur-Pedic delivers. Only Tempur material precisely conforms to your weight, shape, and temperature. It provides up to twice as much pressure-relieving power, so you won't toss and turn. And Tempur-Pedic is the best at minimizing motion transfer from your partner. You'll wake up feeling like a champion. Now through September 17th, save up to $500 on select adjustable sets. Find your exclusive retailer at Tempurpedic.com.
T-Mobile's Unlimited now includes Netflix on Us. That's right, Netflix on Us. Get 4 unlimited lines for just $40 each. Taxes and fees included. And now, Netflix included. So go ahead, binge on Us. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.
I've hitched a ride with outlaws, gathered with Satanists, and fired a few rounds with an armed militia. But this is my most revealing season yet. This is life.
New season starts Sunday, October 1st on CNN.
Caitlin drew this today. It's called Daddy on DirecTV.
I love the little sticky things.
Oh, no, I put those there just to cover the...
Oh, wow, that's some rough language. I would never say any of these words out loud.
Good to know.
Even though DirecTV now says they're $10 a month, it's not. You can't get it without their wireless plan, so it's 10 times more than they say. And there's no NFL network.
I just can't have this on the wall, obviously.
Of course not.
Misleading offers are evil.
Makes the other kids cry.
Spectrum doesn't have them. DirecTV bad. Spectrum good.
I'm leaving you, Wesley.
But why?
You haven't noticed me in 2 years.
I was in a coma.
Well, I still deserve appreciation.
Who was there for you when you had amnesia?
Well, you know I can't remember that.
Stop this madness. If it's appreciation you want, you should both get Snapshot from Progressive. It rewards good drivers with big discounts on car insurance.
I have news. I've used most of our cellular data.
Oh, come on, Susan Lucci!
Legion of Brothers premieres September 24th on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We offer a free book on mesothelioma. Call for the free book and receive so much more. Call 1-800-831-3700.
Well, we are dealing with an unfortunate reality here in Naples, Florida. That's the West Coast, the particularly vulnerable coast. Places like this already very low to the water, already spongy, can't take much flood waters, storm surge, and that's exactly what we're going to get. The water has been sucking out. That's how a hurricane works. As those winds move counterclockwise, it gives on one side, it takes away on the other. So all this water is going to come back and then some. That's the concern here. It has picked up remarkably in the last hour. We're getting gusts here reported 70 miles an hour and in excess, and we're in what they call, when you chase storms, the snap, crackle, and pop phase here in Naples. You're starting to hear sounds of things fail. Branches, trees, transformers. And you start looking around to figure out where they're coming from so you know where the danger is. A lot of trees are down here. There's a lot of debris, but we're worried about a higher level of damage. So let's get to Chad Myers right now. Chad, the simple question is, what happened? We were expecting this some hours from now, and all of a sudden, it's pretty close to what we're seeing in Miami in the main. I mean, it has gotten much worse here, much snottier in very quick time.
And expected to almost double from there.
I mean, that's what this major hurricane means to you, Chris. You just had a wind gust to 71. Wind gusts there may be 120. Now, the force of 120 is more than double the force of 70. I know the numbers aren't double, but it's a force that is multiplied by itself. It is wind speed squared. And so you really have to expect what's going on there. The water near Chris now 4.5 feet below where it should be, and it's going to come rushing back as soon as that eye gets by. There goes the eye right through Sarasota and Tampa, and then maybe even up towards St. Mark's. That I was there for the flood for Ivan. Here comes the storm, though, coming on shore right now near Everglades City. Again, a second landfall. The first one was Cudjoe Key in the lower Keys, just to the east of Key West. There is the spin of the storm right now, pushing the water away from Naples, pushing the water away from Tampa, but that will end as soon as the eye goes by. Now, Tampa, you still have about 8 hours or so before that eye goes by. But this is now the high-res forecast radar. Significant rain and stormy weather, winds to 90. Just had a 91-mile-per-hour gust in Miami Airport. And so that's still going to happen for the next few hours. Move you ahead 3 hours, the storm spins, and Naples is in the eye. So Chris Cuomo will see wind at 120 going from east to west. We'll wait a while, it'll go to 0, and then it'll come from the other direction at about 100 miles per hour. So what's blowing one way will then get knocked around and get picked up and blown the other way as debris. And that's going to be Sarasota, for Venice, for Tampa. Same story. You all get inside the eye. So the wind goes, does its damage. The wind stops and then comes back around. Even though there's not much wind here, there's still going to be damaging wind speeds at least 90 miles per hour on the backside of that. Chris, you have a question.
Yeah, the storm surge, Chad, thank you for explaining that exchange of energy and that phenomenon of pulling the water out. Yes. But do me a favor, try to quantify what that return will look like in terms of how far it could go from where it usually is inshore. Are we talking 100 feet in, a couple of blocks in? You know, like how far in will people have to look at standing water, and how long can it be around?
It's all about the topography of where you live. If you're on a very sharp angle to the water, it may only come back 1 or 2 blocks, but there's no real mountains there. There's nothing elevated there. It is going to spread inland for city blocks and maybe miles before it finally stops. As the storm goes by, the winds change direction, and this is what the Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, has been so concerned about. In fact, they gave us a personal phone call and said, we want you to stress this. This is it. Yes, things will get knocked down with the wind, but the surge will kill people. And they wanted everyone to know that. This is the real deal. 10 to 15 feet on top of what should be mean sea level, which means for Chris, that could be 19 feet higher than it is now because it's already 4 feet down because the wind's blowing the wrong way. Anderson, this is a major event for Marco, for Sanibel, for Punta Gorda, where we were years ago, all the way through Naples, Fort Myers, and the like. Big-time water hitting places that have never been wet before.
You know, and Chad, I keep thinking about that there's the storm surge, which is the rise of the water, but then depending on the force of the winds, there can be waves on top of that, correct?
Absolutely. The waves will come in from the ocean off the Gulf of Mexico at about 90 miles per hour. Now, we know that the wind at Naples may be 128, but that will be from the east. The backside of the eye never recovered from hitting Cuba. And I guess we're going to, you know, thank some stars for America, but we're going to have to help Cuba because they got hit by a 160-mile-per-hour Cat 5 that took the stuffing out of this storm. That's why we're not talking 160, we're talking 125. Big difference in power, big difference in damage. The northern part of the Cuban Keys were really destroyed from this storm, taking the energy from Irma, putting it onto Cuba proper, and taking that energy damage away from America. It finally moves on up to Albany and Macon and the like, and we will have hurricane wind gusts even here in Atlanta. I know that seems ridiculous because everybody left and went to Atlanta or Charlotte or Williamsburg, someplace like that up to the north, and the winds will be strong here and also in Birmingham. Anderson.
All right, Chad, appreciate that. It's really nice to get that level of detail, because that is what people all throughout this region are looking for now, trying to absorb every detail, every data point they can to help them make decisions. I want to go to Miguel Marquez, who is in Punta Gorda. He was there yesterday as well for us. Obviously, Punta Gorda, you know, it's so interesting to be in Tampa and talk about Punta Gorda because, Miguel, back in 2004 when Hurricane Charlie was coming up, it was supposed to hit Tampa. Then it went changed about, I think it was about 4 degrees, ended up turning and hitting Punta Gorda and really decimating that town. What are the concerns there now, and just what is the environment like right now there?
Yeah, well, what we are seeing right now, you will be seeing very shortly. The winds here are about 40 miles per hour. They are sustained. They are gusting up into the 50s. We're seeing some of the worst weather we've seen so far. It is shelter in place for Charlotte County. And you guys they were just talking about sort of the wind effect on the bays and on the water here. I want to show you this. 2 boats, you think they're floating? They're not. Move in there. You can see these are actually in mud now. This is the Peace River and the bay right next to Punta Gorda. If you come over to the right here, you can see how much of the bay is actually exposed. And all of that is just low-lying water on mud, essentially. And that is blowing across the mud, and all that water is going out. So what goes out must come back in eventually, and they are expecting things a little bit better here. They're expecting the winds to top out at about 110 miles an hour in Punta Gorda, with gusts up to 135, so a little better than we were yesterday. They're also expecting the storm surge to be a little bit lower, 5 to 8 feet. But they're saying there could be 3 feet of water. That's not up to here. 3 feet of water across certain parts of Charlotte County. This is the bay, and you get a very good sense of just how powerful this storm is and where it's blowing. Look how much of the floor of the river, of the Peace River here, has been exposed by the wind blowing this storm out. Once that eye wall passes here, and it starts blowing up the other way, then they'll have that storm surge here, and things will get even worse. But right now, very sustained winds here, and it's only going to get worse. We're about 40 miles an hour at the moment. It will get up to 90 to 110 miles an hour, gusting up to 135 in this area. So we are now battening down and hunkering down for the duration. Anderson?
Miguel, we're going to check in with you. Be careful out there. And again, for people a little bit north of where Miguel is in Punta Gorda and where Chris Cuomo is here in Tampa and elsewhere, a lot of that storm surge may be coming in the darkness late at night, which makes it all the more scary. You don't get a sense of what's coming. It's very hard to see what's coming, and especially with those hurricane force winds whipping at that time of night. We're going to take a short break, and our special coverage of Hurricane Irma continues in a moment.
Why are you checking your credit score?
Just want to see if it changed.
Credit scores don't change that much, do they?
Really?
I'll take it. Sir, your credit. I better check my credit score.
Try Credit Karma. It's free.
Credit Karma. Get knowing.
Welcome to the no pressure zone. Carl, have you met everyone? You see, time is just a construct of human perception, an illusion, like this one.
Help! I can't breathe!
Which means there's no pressure to get a great rate on a hotel. They're available for an unlimited time, always. So book now, or don't. No pressure.
If you're 50 or over, what comes to mind when you think about healthcare? Understanding your options? Or if you're getting the care you need? At AARPadvantages.com, you can find helpful information about healthcare options, leaving you more time to think about more important things, like not having to think about healthcare at all. Surround yourself with healthy advantages at AARPadvantages.com/health.
Bachelor party pad. I don't think a beachfront for sure.
Yeah, but no sand. That stuff gets everywhere.
So then a pool with a jacuzzi.
Yeah, an octagon for fighting.
Yeah, an octagon.
If you can get picky with your bro weekend, Why not get piggy with your TV?
Introducing a la carte TV, only from Sling. Start at $20 a month. Then pick your personal channel on it and save.
They don't have an afternoon. I'll keep looking.
Go to slingtv.com and start watching 7 days free.
Hi, I'm Jesse. And I'm Ben. We started Hubble because contact lenses are too expensive. At Hubble, our fresh daily contacts are affordable and delivered straight to you. Get your first 2 weeks free at HubbleContacts.com.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation thing?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana.com. The better way to buy a car.
Guys, I really love what you've done with the place.
Thanks. Yeah, still needs a little bit of work. You guys don't happen to know a good handyman, do you? We might know someone. Outstanding. Could you possibly get a background check on them?
Just to be safe. Also, get a bunch of quotes. Check all the reviews and match us with the best pros for the job.
And book an appointment for, say, next Tuesday at 9?
Pen's better, babe.
Perfect. Who wants a burger?
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything HomeAdvisor can. So to find and instantly book a background-checked home pro for free, just ask HomeAdvisor.
Heather is trying to learn French online. I drink goat milk at the library. Janice is succeeding with Babbel. With 14 languages, Babbel gets you conversational fast for real-life situations. You'll be speaking with confidence in no time.
Deux croissants, s'il vous plaît.
D'accord.
And for you?
The octopus wants to date me. Babbel, start your conversations. Download the app or go to babbel.com and try it for free today.
Hello. Let's go for a ride on a Peloton. Let's go grab a couple thousand friends and chase each other up a hill. Let's go make a personal best, then beat it with your personal better than best. Let's go bring the world's best instructors right to you. Better yet, let's go bring the entire New York studio live. Let's go anytime, anywhere, with anyone who's willing. And let's go do it all right here. Ready to go? Peloton.
Our coverage of Hurricane Irma continues. I'm here in Tampa. Chris Cuomo is in Naples. Chris, obviously the weather system that you are getting, as you were saying, it may be moving up here to Tampa shortly. It's pretty slow moving at this point. But folks in Tampa really have not seen the kind of weather that you're getting right now, and obviously have not seen anything close to what people in Miami have been experiencing so far, Chris.
Well, and as Chad explained, things have changed. I mean, we've just been getting so much rain for so long, and then it intensified about an hour ago. Literally, the weather equipment failed. The jacket I had on, it was just, all it was extra weight. It was no longer holding out any moisture. So looking for a little bit of an upgrade, trying to get one of the producers to be generous and make a swap. No takers yet. But what we've seen here is that the gusts are now getting close to what they're seeing in Miami. And the concern is that there's a lot worse to come here with Irma, and what will happen when things have been made vulnerable. We're losing some trees, but others are being pushed to their break point. Different parts of structures are being tested and weakened. So what will happen when this storm surge that Chad's talking about, when that comes back? And when these much more powerful winds, you heard him say, Anderson, he believes that the effective force of the winds that we're going to get in a few hours will be twice what we're getting now. That's the big concern.
Yeah, I want to go to Miami, where Peter Zalewski, who's a business owner, is there. Peter, I'm wondering, how are things for you in terms of what you and what have you been seeing in your area in Miami?
Well, Anderson, what I can tell you is right now in the streets, and I'm in downtown Miami. I'm probably about a good 1,000 feet, maybe 2,000 feet directly from Biscayne Bay. Biscayne Bay is about ready to breach some of the seawalls that are in and around here. On the actual street level, it's probably about 2 foot deep or so. It's well past the grill of a regular traditional automobile. And in terms of winds, it's probably 70 to 80s plus, and then you're getting bursts. You can see it in the windows when the windows start to get pushed in. And a lot of the trees are bending, and they have been bending for quite some time.
The location you're in, is it a new construction? Because, you know, it's one of the things we've been talking about is in the wake of Andrew, building codes were really upgraded, particularly for any new construction in South Florida.
It is a brand new building. It was constructed in 2013, came online. The developer had the foresight to go forward and actually build it so it's almost as if you're starting on the second floor. So the first floor is where the parking garage is and where you enter the building, for the most part for visitors, is going to be on that second floor. So think of what you'll see in the Keys, or think about what you'll see in certain parts which flood a lot. Effectively, that ground floor is basically just dedicated towards parking, and and when the water recedes, then you can sort of clean up and go back to normal. So they did take those advantages or those steps, and they also too they put in place some pretty strong stringent glass panes, and so far they seem to be holding up, but I'm not sure if it'll continue, but I have some confidence, and I'm here.
And in terms of supplies, I mean, people have been told to have about 3 days worth. I assume you have stocked up.
Well, unfortunately enough, I went vegetarian, so I have a lot of beans and rice laying around, so I tended to cook up some of that, throw some spice in there, and I'm not worried. The only thing I'm worried about is probably gaining weight.
Well, if that's your only concern, then you're in very good shape. Obviously, here in Tampa, which has not seen this level of storm in nearly 100 years, 1921 was a storm which really decimated this area, and obviously back then the city was not anywhere close to the development that we have seen now. But there's real concern about the buildings, their ability to deal with the level of flooding that may occur here. Peter, I appreciate talking to you in Miami. Certainly wish you the best in the days ahead. Our coverage continues from points all across southern Florida, from the west coast to the east coast. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
When you schedule with Safe Flight Auto Glass, you get time for more life. This family wanted to keep the game going.
Hey, Mom, one more game?
With Safe Flight, you get a text when we're on our way. You can see exactly when we'll arrive.
Sure. Bring it.
I'm Michael with Safe Flight,
Thanks for coming. It's right over here.
giving you a few more minutes for what matters most.
Take care. Bye. Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
So, tell us your big idea for getting the whole country booking on choicehotels.com.
4 words. Bada book, bada boom. Let it sink in.
Shouldn't we say we have the lowest price?
Nope. Bada book, bada boom.
Have you ever stayed with Choice Hotels, like at a Comfort Inn?
Yep. Free waffles. Can't go wrong.
I like it.
Promote that guy.
Get the lowest price on our rooms, guaranteed. When you book direct at choicehotels.com. Book now.
I used to feel like my metabolism was stuck. Sound familiar? Now you can boost your metabolism, lose weight fast, and have more energy.
Introducing Lean 13 Plus from Nutrisystem. Now with turbo boosters to rev your metabolism. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
I'm Marie, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day plan right now, and we'll rush you Lean 13 Plus. Get 1 week of all new NutriCurve bars to curb cravings free. And 1 week of turbo shakes packed with probiotics to shrink your belly free. Plus, free turbo boosters to rev your metabolism.
Thanks to Nutrisystem, my metabolism is red hot.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and get FedEx shipping free. Millions have lost weight on Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month.
Boost your metabolism, your energy, and your weight loss. Call or go online now.
Go online or call 877-955-FIN right now and get Lean 13 Plus with bars, shakes, and turbo boosters free.
Working hard to lower your LDL bad cholesterol? Not making enough progress? You eat well, take the highest dose statin you can, but still aren't getting where you need to be. Now there's Repatha, a different way to reduce LDL and get on the path to dramatically lower numbers. Repatha works differently than your statin to help clear LDL. Repatha plus the highest dose statin drove down LDL an average of 71% more than a statin alone.
Do not take Repatha if you are allergic to it. Repatha may cause allergic reactions. Signs include redness, severe rash or itching, swollen face, or trouble breathing. The most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
Added to a highest dose statin, Repatha lowered LDL below 70 for up to 90% of people. Ask if Repatha can get you on the path to way lower LDL.
It's the 10th season of Parts Unknown, and I still have a job? Who saw that coming?
Season 10 of Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown starts Sunday, October 1st at 9 on CNN.
At the Original Mattress Factory, we build our orthopedic line with you in mind. High-quality woven fabrics, high-density foams, and natural cotton padding. We use a premium quality support system and real working box springs for optimal support and long-term durability. Finally, our two-sided mattress construction helps the mattress last longer and minimizes body impressions. So stop by an Original mattress near you and experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an Original.
I was involved in a really bad motorcycle accident where I was covered on my whole body with road rash. I didn't know what to do, so I contacted this law firm, and they said I'd be lucky to get $15,000 for my injuries. Working with Blake Maislin's team of experts, I had great response, kept me up to date, and after just 2 months, I walked away with over $40,000. I'm really glad that I called the law offices of Blake Maislin. It was one of the best decisions I think I've ever made.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
We return to our coverage of Hurricane Irma. I'm Chris Cuomo. I am in Naples, Florida. That's on the western coast. One of the areas of particular vulnerability that became a big concern when the storm path shifted. We also have Anderson Cooper, who's up closer to Tampa Bay, that area. It has never seen a storm of the magnitude that might come that way. John Berman in Miami, they've been getting hit consistently for hours, and we have CNN people everywhere that the storm has been, is now, and will go. One of the big concerns about the West Coast here is about the energy exchange of Irma. She is a huge storm, and the way that the storm works in basic fashion is the winds are moving counterclockwise. And I want to bring in Randy Kay, because as the storm gives storm surge on one side, it's sucking energy from the other side. So we're seeing the water move away in places like Naples and Tampa Bay, but that water is going to come back. And when it comes back, it's going to multiply, and it's going to have power behind it, and that's where the fear of storm surge comes in. Randy, what are you seeing up there?
Chris, hi, hello to you. We are on Bayshore Boulevard here in Tampa, where the rain is coming down. But let me just pan off me here and take a look out there. That is the situation. That's where a lot of folks have been playing in the mud because the water has receded. You could probably hear the police behind me. They've been trying to kick people out of there all day here as the storm starts to make its way in. But you're looking at 700 miles of beautiful shoreline here in Tampa. And now with the such a low tide and the water is being pulled out to sea before the storm actually hits, people have sort of been going out there in the mud and taking selfies and lots of pictures of themselves, including these two folks that I'm joined by here. This is Brian and Felix. You were out there. What made you go out there today?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime event. The last time a hurricane of this size came through Tampa, I wasn't even born yet. I don't even think I was a twinkle in somebody's eye at that point.
What was it like out there?
Well, it's muddy, kind of smells like the bay, but otherwise everything is really calm.
Yeah. Were you nervous out there?
No, I really wasn't. It's just the wind picked up, and then we kind of had to get out of there because the rain was starting to sting a little bit.
Yeah. Felix, how old are you?
10.
So are you concerned about the hurricane? You certainly have never lived through a hurricane this size.
No, I've never lived through a hurricane this size, but I mean, honestly, with my mom, I'm not too concerned about it.
She's a good protector, huh?
Yes.
And what about your dog here? Here's a dog. You have your dog Simba?
That's not my dog.
Oh, it's not your dog. Okay.
My dog.
He's your dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So Simba's riding it out with you. You guys are all going to be okay, you think, where you are?
Well, we're a much higher ground. We're technically in flood zone in between C and D. So we're not under evacuation orders, but we decided to come down and have a look at things.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. So that's the situation here. A lot of mud, and the water has definitely moved out here along the boulevard here in Tampa. Anderson, back to you.
Randy, it's so interesting that you're down by the bay. I just want to show you the Hillsborough River where we are along the Riverwalk. And again, we have been watching now over the last couple hours as, you know, you talked about the water in Tampa Bay being sucked out. Hillsborough River is draining into the Hillsborough Bay, which then is connected obviously to Tampa Bay. And you can, for the last several hours, we've been watching this water go down. And, you know, I've been pointing out that sandy bank across the river. You couldn't see that when we first got here. And again, importantly, as Chad Myers has been talking about, you know, all this water is going to be coming back in here, coming back in fast, probably in the late night hours, even after some of the worst winds may have gone through. I want to go to Alex Marquardt, who is about 50 miles south of me in Sarasota. Alex, excuse me, how are things there?
Well, Anderson, the wind and the rains have started up, as you can see, but this pales in comparison to what we're going to expect in the next few hours. We're told by local officials that the winds around 5 or 6 p.m., so about 3 hours from now, will go up to 75 to 95 miles an hour with gusts of up to 115 miles an hour. So the message from local officials right now is shelter in place. They have been heeding the instructions. People here, residents of Sarasota, have been heeding the instructions of local officials to either stay in place, hunker down at their homes if they feel comfortable, or to get to shelters. There are 10 shelters in Sarasota County. Some 16,000 people have gone to find shelter. We are here at one of them now. This is Brookside Middle School, and unlike some of the other shelters that we've seen, you saw Drew Griffin at that arena down in Fort Myers. This is a school, so people are sheltering in classrooms. It is being run by the Red Cross. There are classrooms that are full of families, classrooms for the elderly. There are even 350 dogs and cats here at Brookside who have gotten their own rooms. That is one of the main reasons that a lot of the families have come here. We have just met the Brady family, Steve and Laura, with their daughter Peyton, their pups Stella and Monty, right?
You got it.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well right now.
You live not too far away, and you're not in an evacuation area, but you still decided to come to this shelter.
Honestly, we got here at 7:30 this morning. I mean, yesterday morning. We haven't really heard if Sarasota is a full evacuation area in Sarasota or not. But we got here because we just wanted to make sure we were going to be as safe as possible.
Yeah, the evacuation area in Sarasota right now is just along the water. You live inland. So did you board up your home? How did you prepare to leave?
Yes, we did. We boarded up our home. It was a very long Friday. Boarded up the whole house on Friday and got here 7:30 yesterday morning. We were here pretty early, you know, making sure we got our spot.
And Laura, the fact that this shelter takes pets, that was of real concern to you guys.
Very much so. These are part of our family, so.
And you actually had to leave some pets behind, no?
I did. We left our bearded dragon and hamster, but tried to secure them as best we could, so.
Because the shelter only takes dogs and cats.
Correct.
How long do you expect to stay here? When are you hoping to be able to get back to your home?
Hopefully tomorrow afternoon. We hope to go check out if it's okay and if everything is good, and then we just have to survive the power outage that we're going to be expecting here too. So,
have you been getting everything that you need in terms of shelter and food and a place to sleep and comfort?
Yes, we've been taken care of very well. They're very informative, let you know what's going on, and all the people working here, if you go up and ask them a question, they're very, very helpful and will find out answers for you if they don't know themselves. But they've been great.
And you're not originally from Florida, so have you guys been through anything like this before?
Not anything like what we're expecting here. So we're from Maryland, and this is our first official hurricane in Florida.
And Peyton, how are you feeling? You scared at all?
A little bit nervous, but not too much. I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen to the pets at home or what's going to happen to the house if windows bust in. I'm just worried about that mostly.
All right, well, we're wishing you all the best. People here will be riding out this storm over the course of the night. As you heard, many trying to get home in the next few days. A lot of uncertainty in the days ahead, but officials, again, are saying as this storm approaches, you must shelter in place. Anderson?
Alex, just very briefly, have you seen people, are people continuing to arrive at that shelter?
It's a slow trickle. The vast majority have already arrived. There are 1,100 people at this shelter who are registered. They are still accepting people. The authorities don't want anyone in the streets. They're saying wherever you intend to ride out this storm, you should be there right now. But of course, if anyone shows up right now, they will be taking them in.
All right, Alex, be careful. Continue to check in with you. I want to go to Chad Myers. Chad, I understand, this storm which made landfall in the Keys as a Cat 4. I understand that now Cat 3.
It is now down to a Cat 3 because of the interaction with Cuba. In fact, it never truly came back from the interaction with Cuba, and that's the great news. I don't think we even got any Category 4 gusts with this storm. Although the hurricane hunters now have gone home, praise to them for what they did for this storm. They haven't really found a Category 4 gust for some time, and now they're on their way home because the storm has made landfall on the Keys. They no longer chase the storm. Here, right there, that is Marco Island. That right there, that is Naples, Florida, and this is the eye wall heading to you. Marco, I give you 30 minutes. You're going to be in it, maybe less. Naples, probably an hour or less. This is now every time you get closer to the eye, that's when your winds are picking up. And they've been picking up now for a couple of hours. And really, I mean, our Chris Cuomo is going to be right downtown for that event. And that's going to be in less than an hour for sure. Tampa still blowing offshore. That means that your water is going away in Tampa Bay. Don't be confused because the water will come rushing back as soon as the eye wall goes by. There's the eye wall right there, headed almost to about Punta Gorda. That's Port Charlotte. This now is 5 p.m. tonight, so 3 hours from now. Move you ahead 3 more hours. Tampa, you're right in the middle of the outer eye wall, not yet to the 120, 115 mile per hour gust that you're going to get. But 11 o'clock tonight, things will go bump in your town as you get the eye wall to the north. Winds will blow from the east to the west. Then by 2 o'clock, the winds stop, and they turn around and they blow the wrong way because you're on the other side of the eye. You will literally be in the eye. You can look up and see the stars or see the moon, but please don't. Don't go outside because as soon as the wind picks up from the other direction, everything that was loosened by the 115 will get blown around by the backside, which will be 100 miles per hour at least, and that's when the surge comes in tonight for you, Anderson.
Wow. So, Chad, just for people here in Tampa who are listening, you're talking really 11 p.m. Till, dawn.
Absolutely. This will be, for some people, it'll be 6 hours of hell.
We're going to take I want to bring back in Chris Cuomo, who just got the news from Chad that in about an hour, Chris, you are very much going to be in it. John Berman is also now in Miami, and I want to go to John because he has been in it on the east coast of Florida since this morning. John, let's go to you.
Yeah, I keep waiting for this to let up, Anderson, and it's just not happening. This storm, the winds here seem to be getting even stronger, even as the storm has moved west and begins to move up the west coast of Florida. The tide behind me has begun to recede at least a little bit. It stopped rising here, even as storm very much the story in downtown Miami with some of the streets covered. Also here in Miami, we have seen that crane collapse. A crane collapse in a building under construction after there were reports of wind gusts of 100 miles an hour up high. I can tell you, I believe that where I'm standing right now because I think we've had wind gusts here upwards of 90 miles an hour over the last few hours. And Chad Myers told me a short time ago we can expect another few hours of this before it begins to die down and become much more a story on the West Coast where Chris and Anderson are right now. Let's talk more about the storm surge and see so many people now posting photos of downtown Miami where the streets looking like streams. Our Rosa Flores is there to give us a sense of what things look like. Rosa. Is Rosa there? All right, so we don't have Rosa there. I think we've lost Rosa's audio. To be honest, I don't hear much of anything. All right, I'm told we're going back to Rosa, who is on the streets, which are flooding. All right, now I'm hearing, let's go out to Miami Beach. I'm in Miami right now where you can see the winds are blowing pretty fiercely. It's even worse out there on Miami Beach. Worse than this, if you can believe it. Let's go to Kyung La out there. Kyung?
Hey, John, what we're seeing now is probably the heaviest rain that we've seen throughout the day. We've had strong winds, but now we're just getting hammered by the rain. you can see that we still have very, very strong winds. That's what's been concerning for the city of Miami Beach. We spoke with the mayor just a short time ago, and the mayor did tell us that the city pumps are working, that they haven't had any instance of major flooding here, unlike what they're seeing in Miami. But what's happening here is just the pounding, unforgiving rain. And this is part of what's happening in a hurricane. So this is what's heading further west. It's going to be even worse, though. You can barely see. Earlier this morning, even as we were getting some of this strong wind, you could still see those palm trees, but now you can no longer see what's happening to us. You can tell that we're down a little water in our lens. Our camera can no longer zoom anymore. Everything soaks in, not just to our gear, but throughout the city. So what the Miami Beach Fire and police are saying is, do not come outside. They are no longer responding to calls. They have not been able to do so throughout the day because of these dangerous conditions. They've also cut off all traffic. Anyone who's trying to get in and between Miami Beach and Miami, that is just not happening. Those bridges and streets are closed because of all of the hazards here, John.
All right, Kyung Law out in Miami Beach, which is over there. Kyung, I can serve as a second source. This is the heaviest rain we've seen, raining really hard here right now. Let's go back to Chad Myers in the Weather Center. You know, Chad, this has been going on just for hours and hours and hours here in Miami.
It has, and more hours to come because there's one big heavy band just to your south that's going to rotate up to you. But just to the north of there, a little more imminent up here, Fort Lauderdale, there is a tornado on the ground at Fort Lauderdale Airport. It came off the ocean as a water spout, but onshore as a tornado. If you're just to the north and northwest of that airport, I need you to take cover more than you're taking cover now. Stay away from windows because that could certainly tear some things up. We saw some video earlier near Palm Bay where a tornado touched down, and it was quite a bit of damage there, at least an EF1 tornado there. This is going to be possible all night long in this entire box right there, John.
All right, Chad Myers in the Weather Center, thanks so much for that. Let's try one more time to go to Rosa Flores because I want people to see what has happened on the streets of downtown Miami in what was the mandatory evacuation zone. And now, Rosa, I think we get a sense of just why officials wanted people out of those areas.
Yeah, all you have to do is look around me and you can see why. We're seeing a lot of ponding here in this part of the financial district. Now, here's what's happening. Our meteorologists have been talking about this since the get-go. There is storm surge. I'm about 3 to 4 blocks from the ocean. And what happens with storm surge is the ocean comes onto land. And we've been seeing that happening. We were a few blocks closer earlier today, and we saw a lower level of one of the big apartment buildings take in water. Now, as we moved closer and closer, farther and farther away from the ocean, then you can also see not only the surge, but the ponding, a huge issue here in Miami. Now, there is a system of canals, 2,100 miles of canals, and 2,000 miles of berms and levees that keep the lower 16 counties of Florida dry. It drains all into the ocean. It's not draining right now. All you have to do is take a look around me to realize that. And here's what happened. So on top of the ocean coming onto land, on top of the surge, there is a lot of debris because of the high winds that we've been experiencing. You can't see it now, but earlier we could see leaves on a lot of these drains, tree branches, all sorts of debris. It blocks the drains and it doesn't allow the system of canals to work. That's why we're seeing a lot of more of this ponding, John. And then you take a look right now, and we are getting very heavy rain. So not only are we seeing the surge, but the ponding because the drains are clogged. On top of that, we're getting a lot of rain as we see the real force of Irma over Miami. John?
All right, Rosa Flores, thanks so much. Getting a sense of the storm surge there. I'm in the middle of a wind and just a pounding rain over where I am at this point. Just to give you a sense of how giant this storm is, this is happening to us over in Miami, over in Fort Myers, all the way over on the West Coast. Drew Griffin is in a shelter that just lost power. Drew, give us a sense of what you're seeing. What's going on?
You've hit the nail on the head. You've just got this incredible storm on this side of the coast. You're on the east side of the coast, and Irma is still back behind me. This is an incredibly wide swath of area that is just getting blown apart right now. If you would look at a map on Florida, you can realize just how wide this is happening. We did just lose power here in Fort Myers. The wind is really picking up now. We're picking up more and more car alarms blowing. And the phenomenon we have is the opposite of what you have in terms of the water, John. The water is not being pushed in. The water here in the canals and in the bays is being pushed out to sea. It will come back around as Irma goes up the coast and then pushes that water back in. But right now, you know, your typical hurricane, we're getting pelted with ever-increasing winds and rain as Irma slowly makes her way up the coast, the west coast of Florida, John, the west coast. Back to you.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable, Drew, that you are on the west coast, part of Florida where this storm has not even delivered its greatest wrath yet. We're getting it here in Miami. Up the coast from where I am is West Palm Beach. That is where Brian Todd is hanging on. Brian.
We are hanging on, John, and we're getting it just about as severely as you are. This is the most intense wind and rain that we have seen all day. Look at these palm trees and these trees over here, swaying pretty strongly in the wind. We're just a few feet away from the Intercoastal Waterway. The mayor told me a short time ago she's very concerned about these streets that are right next to the waterway getting flooded. That could happen really at any moment because the storm surge is intensifying. I heard Chad talking about a tornado at the airport south of here at Fort Lauderdale. We are in the middle of possible tornadic activity all day long. That's going to be a threat. We were told by our weather team pop-up tornadoes are going to be hitting or could threaten us for most of the day today. Look at just how intense this wind is. Look at the stanchion over there, that Flagler Street stanchion holding the traffic light. That is swaying. These regular traffic signs are swaying pretty violently. So all this stuff, these are all potential projectiles. The palm trees over here have been really swaying almost violently and in some cases almost snapping. And they've got coconuts that are dropping off, palm fronds that weigh about 10 to 20 pounds that are flying around like they're cardboard. Even in these conditions, John, what we can tell you is that not everybody here is cooperating with the orders to stay off the streets. We were just told by Palm Beach County officials they've arrested 43 people for curfew violations, if you can believe that in these conditions. We saw actually a couple of cars driving by here not long ago. Not smart. Not smart, because not only are you risking driving through storm surge and getting hit with a projectile like a branch or a coconut, but you're risking arrest. Another factor here that we got to talk to you about, these cranes behind me, these large construction cranes. I know we've been talking about that all day. You've been reporting in Miami about the crane that cracked. That's a danger here. We were just assured by a local fire chief that these cranes, they believe, are secure, but they're watching them closely. The fire chief said these cranes, the top of them, those top booms that you see up there, he said they're, quote, pulling with the wind. And he said that's a good thing. That means that they're just going to point wherever the wind goes, and if they have to whip around on their turrets, that's okay. That means they're not providing too much resistance. That means they could stay in place. But there are several apartment buildings that are right next to these cranes, and not everybody has evacuated from those apartment buildings, John, and they're telling us, we've talked to several residents of these apartments, they are concerned about these cranes toppling over. They saw what happened in Miami. Look at this over here. Really intense bursts. I mean, we are in the window now of hurricane force winds hitting us here in West Palm Beach. The storm surge could hit really at any moment. Look at that scene right there. John, back to you.
Yeah, an intense storm, Brian, a huge storm. This is pounding you up in West Palm Beach, getting me here in Miami. Of course, the worst yet to come on the West Coast. Back to the Weather Center now, Chad Myers. You know, Chad, I just can't get over the duration here and the size of the storm we're dealing with.
Hey, John, you're halfway done. How about that? That is scary, and that's why people need to pay attention to hurricane forecasts. I know how wet you are inside and out, whether you wear a waterproof jacket or not. This is blowing into Miami right now, into Kendall, all the way down to Homestead and blowing onshore. And there's our Brian Todd in West Palm, another batch of cells here. But the Hurricane Center just put out a warning. And they said if you are Marco, Naples, Everglades City, anywhere in this zone, you're about to get inundated with 10 to 15 foot of storm surge. Whether your water has been going out or not, get away from the water, get inside and above 15 feet above sea level, because the water is coming in, and it's coming in fast. John?
All right, Chad Myers for us right now. Listen to that warning. If you were in the zones that Chad was just talking about on the west, a 10 to 15 foot storm surge expected and soon over there, and there's nothing you can do once it comes. So please listen to the authorities there. Joining me now is Major Richard Rand with the North Miami Beach Police Department, I believe. Did I get that right? Is it North Miami Beach, sir?
Yes, North Miami Beach Police Department.
All right. Give me a sense of what you're seeing where you are right now, Major.
So let me tell you what's going on in North Miami Beach. We have gusts of winds of up to 60 to 70 miles an hour. We have several homes that have been damaged as a result of the winds. We have power lines down. We have severe flooding going on in some of our neighborhoods. The intercoastal and our waterways are basically at the tops of the rim. More rain is really going to hurt us because it's just going to overflow into the communities. We do have multiple power lines down. Like I said, we have transformers that have exploded overnight and into the morning. We've lost power here at the police department. Our EOC is currently operating on generator power. Our air conditioning in our police department has gone down. We have some slight damage to our police department. We're barely holding it together, but I can tell you that North Miami Beach is prepared to serve our residents and make sure that they can come home to a safe environment.
We know you are holding it together, sir. We appreciate the work you're doing. We know you can't get out right now. The first responders can't get out because the winds are just blowing too strong right now. How many calls have you been receiving? How are people faring out there on Miami Beach?
People are faring well. I truly believe that people listen to the evacuation orders. The North Miami Beach Police Department and Miami-Dade County did an excellent job notifying the residents of this storm. Even though we're not getting hit with a direct Category 3 or 4, it sure feels like it out there. We have a military vehicle, an MRAP, that we're sending out every couple of hours to assess the damage. So our patrol units and emergency vehicles are currently off the road right now because it's just too dangerous for us to go out there.
One of the biggest concerns in Miami Beach and North Miami Beach was storm surge. They had been predicting 5 to 10 feet. They downscaled that to 4 to 6 feet, which is still an awful lot for where you are right now. We are seeing storm surge here in Miami proper. Is that something that has affected you yet?
It's affected us in certain areas of our city. I can tell you there is some pretty major flooding east of Biscayne Boulevard, US 1, from 163rd Street. I have one of our all-terrain vehicles out there now doing a survey to see what kind of damage we're having with the intercoastal waterways. I can tell you that they're filled to the brim. They are at the top. If the rain continues for the next 6 to 8 hours, we're going to have some pretty serious problems. So it's so important that people stay inside their homes. I don't know if you saw it behind me, but my emergency vehicle was just returning. It's important that people stay inside their homes, stay away from windows. We're getting gusts of 70 miles an hour. And we have damage to some of our police cars that are sitting in the parking lot. We also have flooding. It's pretty bad down here.
And finally, Major, last question to you. You know, when this is finally over in the next 6 hours or so here in the Miami Beach area right now, what do you want your people to know?
I can tell you this, that I have a crew standing by of about 40 officers. We have a couple of military vehicles, the MRAP, where we're going to be able to get out into these neighborhoods. Once it's safe, I'm going to be sending out a whole crew of people as well as Public Works. We're going to work very efficiently to get our roads cleared, to get Florida Power and Light here, to get these these power lines out of the roadway. We're going to be very efficient. We have a very good plan in place, and we're prepared.
All right, Major Russell Rand, thank you so much for your work, the North Miami Beach Police Department. Your work really just beginning. You say you're barely hanging on by a thread. I know you mean you're in there and you're just waiting to get out and help the people who will need it when this storm dies down and when it is safe enough for you to do so. Thank you so much, sir. And joining us now is retired Major General Russell Honore. Of course, General Honore ran the recovery effort and the response after Hurricane Katrina. General, thank you so much for being with us. I've heard you talk about the fact that in a storm like this, Mother Nature wins the first quarter. It feels like we're in the first quarter right now, maybe not even halfway through it, sir.
Absolutely, and it's going to go on for some hours to come. And after the eye pass, we're still going to be dealing with the surge. But there's an activity that we just witnessed the Major talking about, and that's transformers breaking. As that storm moves up and get hurricane-force winds inside of counties and cities, they need to consider taking the grid down. If you don't take the grid down, all the transformers are going to blow. So you're dealing with tomorrow with having to put the wires back and having to find transformers to replace. So we continue to learn how we respond to these storms. And then the next challenge is, will the distribution lines go down? And will the surge water, how high it's going to get in Tampa and West Palm Beach? Those are big issues that could leave those two communities totally flooded because they have access canals. And with the surge coming in, that water could come and stay, so you could have a grid down as well as flooding. John?
Yeah, General, the big concern now, Chad Myers just said there's a warning that's gone out to some of the cities on the